Several nights ago, I got up like I often do at 3 a.m., but this time wasn't because I couldn't sleep. I think I actually could have slept until a bit later that morning. I woke up because I heard whistling. Now, whistling don't creep me out, but whistling at 3 a.m. does. And it wasn't birds or anything like that. This was a melodious whistle. And though somebody, simply whistling a tune. I went ahead and made my coffee and decided to stay up, thinking it was likely a neighbor doing their laundry or whatever. But what freaked me out is when I got into the studio, the whistling began again, and it sounded like it was in the basement just below us. It's very quiet here in the middle of the night, so I was sure somebody in the basement was whistling. I shrugged it off and went on about my day, mentioning it to James, my daughter, my son, and even my mom. We joked around about it being ghostly activity, or me finally losing my mind. The next morning I wake up and come to the studio. I've made my coffee, and I hear the whistling again. Now this is odd. So I said a little prayer and just kind of sat there trying to ignore what I was hearing. Talked to my daughter about it again, and she said it was likely somebody's video game or perhaps somebody just walking around outside doing whatever they're doing at 3 a.m. Well, I have to admit I was a bit freaked out. A friend had commented that they too had heard whistling through the night, but they live in a different part of Roanoke. But it got me kind of curious. Is other people hearing this? So I asked a few neighbors, and James mentioned it, and nobody else had shared my experience. So I did as anybody would in 2022. I went to Google. Well, first I Googled whistling in Roanoke, which I only found a few reports from a couple of weeks ago, and people recording hearing strange whistling around the railroad tracks. And we don't live that close to the railroad, so I dismissed that. I kept searching. I decided to get very specific, and I entered whistling, Grandin Road, Roanoke, Virginia. Jackpot. Chills went up my spine when I opened the article about John Nash, who lived at my address in the 60s. If the name John Nash is familiar, it's because he is a Nobel Prize winner for the game theory in mathematics. He was the subject of the movie starring Russell Crowe, A Beautiful Mind. Apparently, while he lived here in my address, he took to whistling while he walked back and forth to the library and around Grandin and Raleigh and Raleigh Court. Mothers feared for their children and protected them from him, as he looked disheveled and scary. Well, during this time, he was suffering with audio hallucinations due to schizophrenia and had been in and out of mental institutions. The article stated that he was dubbed the Whistler of Grandin Road. You gotta be kidding me. Granted, I doubt this was connected to my mind morning whistler, however. I hardly believe in coincidences, and I think it's pretty incredible. Additionally, while he lived here, he set a fire that some claim was intentional. When James and I were downstairs in the basement a few months ago, we noticed the flames against the beams just under the apartment. Apparently, his mother had lived in our apartment in the mid to late 60s, if they were numbered the same as they were then. And he resided with her there before her death in 69. Ultimately, he would leave Roanoke. He also overcame his schizophrenia, which is almost unheard of by the power of the mind. It's one of the most bizarre things that's ever happened to me, and it left me quite speechless and a bit freaked out at first. He would ultimately die in a car accident in New Jersey around 2014 or 2015. I'm going to link an article into the comments below. I just thought it was something really cool that happened I wanted to share with you guys. Odd things happen to me, but this might be the oddest. Typically, it's cool coincidences and connections I make with you guys. Things that we have in common that connect us. But never did I expect the Nobel Prize winner John Nash lived in our apartment and was called the Whistler of Grandin Road. Shocking but inspiring. I watched a documentary about him this morning because I'm so intrigued and will likely read articles about him in the days to come.
Wow.
Man.
I think she told me that she heard it one other time too, later. She heard it again later.
Oh, wow.
And also after just hearing that haunted hotel in Roanoke, Virginia one just recently, it makes you wonder. I don't know where, I don't know where either one of these two places are, if they're anywhere near each other, but yeah, wasn't that guy? Yeah, she called him the Whistler of Brandon Road.
Yeah.
Okay. Who knows? Maybe it's the same. It could be the same road.
Hey, who knows?
And I mean, that's just a crazy coincidence that they had the same apartment.
Yeah. Yeah. And
her and that guy.
A coincidence is one thing, but when it's the same area.
Well, it's the same apartment, even.
Yeah, same area, same apartment, even. Yeah. I don't think that's quite a coincidence there.
That's eerie.
Yeah. Well, folks, next up on our list.
Oh, yeah. Let us know what you think of this one in the comments.
Yeah, definitely. Let us know. What do you think? Do you think it was a coincidence?
The next one on our list, if you're listening to the compilation. Compilation?
Yeah.
Okay.
Story collection, compilation. Compilation collection.
Yes. Of 2022.
Yeah. This one is the Mothman sighting, Galapagos, Ohio. So
this one took place in 1967. November 1967, the lady that sent it to me told me. Her name was Amy. I believe she said that... Oh, it was her neighbor. Okay.
Ah, okay.
So I'll go ahead and get into this one. So yeah, it's a classic older Mothman story that took place back when all the sightings near Point Pleasant was going on. Gallipolis is across the bridge. So that would have been across the Silver Bridge back then. The one that collapsed on the other side. It's their sister town, they call it.
Right.
All right. I live in Gallipolis, Ohio, and an elderly neighbor said that when her children were little, during the time of the sighting, sometime around November 1967, they were in their backyard playing, and she saw a giant bird-like creature flying towards them. She described it as being dark brown colored and having big red eyes, like what was described in the other sightings in this time. She scooped up her kids and ran inside because it looked like it could take one of the kids without any effort. She also said that behind our neighborhood, they used to take walks along the railroad tracks, and one day they saw an area in the field where the grass was flattened like a large creature had been laying or nesting there. Given everything else that was happening during this time, it really freaked her out. And she wasn't the type of person to freak out easily.
Man. That is one of those that is short and sweet.
And she told me that, as far as she knows, that one hasn't been shared out anywhere. Not in any books or on any other YouTube channels or podcasts or anything.
Wow. And that is a really good one. I mean, can you imagine, just going on doing your thing, and then bam,
Yeah, exactly.
man. But that's one thing that's really interesting about Mothman and a lot of these cryptid stories and everything. And it's like a lot of people, they always seem to have this experience. You hear so many stories about people having like strange feelings and stuff like that, and
Hmm.
it's all kind of weird stuff. And then it kind of slowly comes into it, the story. But I really like these where there's no warning, no nothing. It just bam, there it is.
Hmm.
Kind
That's
of,
a yeah.
it just puts a different kind of twist and look into it.
I mean, this could happen to anybody.
Exactly.
Wonder if it
Definitely
asked for a
amazing.
cup of sugar.
You never know. Oh no, this is Appalachia. It may have asked for a little cornbread.
Maybe. Maybe.
Let
Well,
us know
thank
what you
you.
folks think.
Yeah, let us know what you think in the comments. And big thanks to Amy for sending this in. Appreciate it. Hope you're still listening to the channel, by the way. This has been a while. I think the 2022 you told me about this.
Holy but a goodie.
Yeah. All right, folks. If you're listening to the collection story, it's time for the next one. This is another older story someone sent in. Well, I think we already went through and said these were all the older stories, but this was one of the. I mean, this one's nuts. It's about a UFO chase that took place in Troutville, Virginia. I believe it was back in the 70s. Yeah,
1974.
1974. Now, I've been trying to get the guy that sent this in to come on and tell this story to us and maybe answer a couple questions. Cliff, if
Right.
you're listening, just get with me sometime and we can do this. He was definitely a credible sounding guy. He told me I think he ran a post office, and before that, he was career military or something like that.
Wow.
And this all took place before he shipped off for the military.
Man.
Yeah.
That's what I like about when folks tell you a story, there seems to be more credible when when they come at you and they're kind of like, all right, here's my story. Believe it or not, I don't care. This is my story. I know it happened.
Yeah. I like
You
when
know,
that's exactly what he said to me, too.
yeah. So I mean, they're not like trying to. They just don't try to keep on and keep on and keep on trying to convince you.
Yeah.
I just really really enjoy those.
And this is one of those.
It really is.
Well, Jared, do you want to take us away?
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
It was late summer night, about 11:30 p.m. in August 1974. I was about 17 years old at the time. I was driving to my home in Nace, Virginia, which is located between Troutville and Buchanan. I was coming home from my girlfriend's house in Salem on Route 11, passing through Troutville. Coming into Troutville, I had noticed some relatively low lights and thought it might be a plane making an approach to the Woodrum Field in Roanoke. All of a sudden, I realized that the lights didn't seem to be moving, and I began to slow down until I came to a dead stop right in the middle of town in front of the old Troutville Elementary School. That's when I noticed a dark triangular craft about 150 feet right above me with a bright light on each corner. My anxiety was rising fast, and I felt the hair on my arms and neck standing up. I rolled down my window on my '63 Oldsmobile and leaned very far out and looked straight up. I was immediately impressed at the size of this craft, and it was at least as long and wide as a football field. I also noticed there was no engine, no motor sounds, but only a deep humming from the craft. It was so intense that I could actually feel the humming in my body. Now, I was completely at a loss as to what I was seeing or what I should do. I had a weapon in the car, and a quick thought passed through my mind that I should get it, but thankfully that went away quick as it come. This was when the fear crept in, and I realized how actually close to this craft I was, and there had been no cars coming from either direction in the short time that all of this had transpired. Erratic thoughts started racing through my mind. Would he try to hurt me? Or even worse, try to take me? I quickly ducked back into my car and rolled the window up, stepped on the gas. Actually, I floored it and exited Troutville heading north on Route 11 towards my home in Nace. Now, my 63 Oldsmobile was what I called a tank due to its size and being made up almost completely steel. Route 11 is a 4-lane highway there, 2 lanes in each direction, and I had pegged the speedometer at 120 miles an hour, and I was cutting corners. I could see that the craft was still very low and right behind me, following as I sped along. I was very frightened. When I came to the turnoff on my right to go to Nace on a back road, I noticed another car coming from the opposite direction. We passed one another as I slowed down to turn off Route 11, and the other car was proceeding toward Troutville. It was now that I noticed the craft had stopped following me and was following the other car back toward Troutville. While I was glad it was no longer following me, my fear had yet subsided. I continued to speed the rest of the way home. Upon entering the front door of my house, I saw that my mom and dad were still up and immediately noticed the state I was in. I told them what had happened, and I was sure they was going to think I was nuts, but Dad said he had seen several things in the sky out where we lived, and he was really not surprised at my story. 48 years have passed since that night, and I still remember it like it happened last night. I went on to spend 20 years in the Army and only shared this story with about 10 people in that amount of time. I never talked about it a lot because I didn't want to get the looks and hear the comments that I feared would come my way. I have made the judgment as to whether or not this craft was alien or just something from another world or something from this world. I personally believe it was something from another world. The government of our country has finally admitted there are UFOs, but they really have not commented any further. I believe they know very much more about these things, but for some reason, they don't want to share them with the American people. Before this, I was not a believer, but now that they are out there, I wish they were informed of everything ours. Other governments know, but that may not happen in my lifetime. But I still watch the sky, and always will.
Man, that one's a super, super story.
Man, that really is. I mean, golly. That's just one of them experiences, you don't even expect to hear.
Yeah. I don't know what I would do in that situation. Honestly, that's nuts. It does kind of remind me of the whole UFO incident that happened near me in Withville, Virginia, but that was in '87. There were triangular UFOs like that. And then also we had another story in '87 in Shawsville, Virginia, which I think is closer to Troutville than Withville, maybe. But it's sort of the same area, that something was going on. Man,
that's...
They were all triangular shaped UFOs just like this one. I wish I could have witnessed this without having the UFO know about me. I bet that'd
Right.
be insane.
Oh man, wouldn't it though? To be a fly on the wall.
Yeah.
It's
Could you
like,
imagine how
man.
he felt? Wow.
I mean, yeah, just the shock, the fear, the confusion. Your mind trying to comprehend what you're seeing.
Yeah. And I hadn't heard from him in a while, but he'd email back and forth with me, like a year or 2 years later after I got this started. Oh, I'm still watching you. So he's one of the first. That and the lady that sent the Whistler story were amongst some of the first people that started listening.
Man,
Yeah. They're still with me.
that's awesome.
Yeah. I'm eternally grateful to these people who've stuck with me
Exactly,
this
man.
whole time.
Yeah, a lot of folks, I've said the same thing a million times about, folks in my channel, and you have too, folks really don't know, just how much we truly do appreciate them.
I try my best to reply to every single comment I see. I definitely
Yeah.
do on YouTube. But
Yeah.
on the other social media platforms, it starts to get hard sometimes. But
Man, there's not enough time in the day, and a lot of folks don't realize that is, us as creators, how much time we spend, making this content, getting it ready to put up, making more content, planning stuff out, and we try to make sure we reply to all the comments, in the comment sections, but to do that and reply to comments from all the social media platforms, man, there's not enough time in the day.
yeah, we're not we don't hate you. It's just
We just
it's
don't
hard.
have time. We try to get
Yeah.
to as many as possible, but
But yeah. Oh, speaking of UFOs, we will be, well, me and Donald, Jared, too far away, we will
Yeah.
be at the third annual Withville UFO Festival. It's on June 8th at the Withville Meeting Center. You can look that up. June 8th, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. We'll have a table up. You can come and meet us, buy you a shirt or something, some stickers, and shake hands, have a good time.
absolutely.
It's free to attend the event, so you've been wanting to meet me, you can come do it.
Absolutely. Here's your chance.
Yep, here's your chance. But big thanks to Cliff who sent this in. Big thanks to Jared for reading. Let us know what you think of the story in the comments. And if you didn't, make sure to like, subscribe, comment, and share this out with all your friends.
Absolutely, folks.
And thank you for tuning in. We'll catch you in the next one.
God bless and have a good one. All right, folks. Welcome to another one with Spooky Appalachia. I'm your co-host, Jared.
I'm Jimmy, your host.
And welcome, everybody. Thanks so much for tuning in. If you're new, please subscribe. Hit that like button. At the end of the video, please share out. We've got another really spooky story for you, right? And it's a good ghost story. And this one's called The Haunted Garage in Christiansburg, Virginia.
So this one, I think it was about the time I started Spooky Appalachia. A friend of mine found out I had started it, or I let him know, and he started listening. And he told me that I think around 2020, he bought a house that had been on the market for a while. And then after buying it, a neighbor, he was in his driveway doing something, and a neighbor came out and he said, "Oh, you bought this house?" And he was like, "Why? You know why it's been on the market for so long?" And he goes, No, I don't. Why?" He just assumed it was because it was near the interstate and you could hear the interstate. Apparently, it was well known in that part of town that the lady died somewhere in the house.
Oh man.
and people didn't want to buy it because of that. He had begun hearing banging sounds coming from the garage at night, and he had some motion lights around the garage and one motion camera in the garage because he keeps all of his fishing stuff in there. Pretty expensive fishing stuff, you know.
Right.
And the motion thing would go off all the time, but there would be nothing on it. And then several times he checked the motion thing and there were orbs floating around. He sent me 2 videos of it, which I will edit into this so you can see it. They moved in a really odd pattern. Jared, I don't know if you remember this. But
I actually do. And it is, I mean, just for them to be an orb, it's kind of creepy. But it's also kind of neat.
Yeah.
It's almost like they're like. Sorry to interrupt you there. Like I was
oh,
just
you're
saying,
fine.
It's really neat. I mean, just the way it moves around, it's almost like it's curious.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Now I know a lot of people say orbs aren't necessarily ghost related. I just thought it was an interesting coincidence that he captured this on camera. And all this stuff was going on. Maybe it's dust, maybe it's not. I don't know. But what's really interesting is the banging sounds and the motion lights and motion camera were all going off. He later told me, after telling me about this, that his son has woken up. His son has the bedroom next to the garage. And he's woken up several times saying he's heard scratching sounds.
Oh, man.
Coming from the garage and the banging that they all heard. But the thing that got me, this happened a long time after he sent this original story, I think, was he said that he woke up in the middle of the night and thought he saw a lady crouched down in the corner of his bedroom opposite of his bed, just crouched there, motionless, just crouched. And she was just there for a minute, and then she was gone.
Man.
Isn't that crazy?
That is. I mean, wow. That'd be one of them where I just pack up and leave immediately.
He hasn't said anything about anything going on recently. But I think that was maybe last year he told me that update.
Oh, man.
Pretty crazy stuff.
That is. But a lot of times in these, folks, I just wanted to throw this in real quick. Anytime we tell these stories like this, like he was saying a while ago about the orb, some people believe that it's not technically like a ghost. Some people does believe it. Some people don't. We're not saying it as it is or not. We're just reading the stories and just as they're told to us, and just talk about how neat it is and spooky, things like that.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, I'm not sure what I believe either way, but I think it's an interesting story, and it was kind of cool. I got some video along with it.
Definitely.
Well, folks, I hope you enjoyed the video. Let us know what you think in the comments. And
we love hearing from you folks.
Yeah, definitely. And I guess we'll catch you in the next one.
God bless and have a good one.
Thanks, folks.